Let's study about relations and functions. So relations, relation is a mapping from the elements of one set to the elements of another. Like here we have set A and set B. The elements of set A are the square of the elements of set B. For example, 1 is the square of 1, 4 is the square of 2, 4 is also the square of minus 2, 9 is the square of 3, 16 is the square of 4. Okay, and we write it in this format where we write them pairwise. 1 paired with 1, comma, 4 is paired with 2, 4 is also paired with minus 2, and so on. Next, we look at this relation here. Let's zoom in. Okay, so here P is connected to A. Let's draw the elements of set A on the x-axis. So P is connected to A is on the y-axis. The elements of set B, let's represent them on the y-axis. So the point P comma A. Q is connected to B and Q is also connected to C. So Q is connected to B and also connected to C. So this is B, this is C. R and S are both connected to D. So R and S are both pointing to where D is. Actually, let's make D here. So that's D. Okay, so let's draw a rough sketch of this curve. Goes like this. Okay, so it connects the points A comma P, then Q comma B, and then Q comma C, R comma S, oh not R comma S, R comma D, and R comma S. Okay, so a rough sketch of the relation on the XY axis was found by connecting the dots. So now this relation, or in general any relation, what are the characteristics? It may not pass what is called the vertical line test. It may not pass what is called the horizontal line test. Now, what are these tests? You just make a horizontal or a vertical line. These are vertical lines, and if it crosses only one point, that passes the vertical line test, and that must happen for all vertical lines. But clearly, this does not happen for this vertical line. It passes through 3 points on the relation curve. So therefore this relation does not pass the vertical line test. Horizontal line test is similar except the line is horizontal. So if the horizontal, you draw any horizontal line and it should pass through only one point on the relation curve, but that's not happening here. There are many horizontal lines that are passing through multiple points on the relation curve. So in general, a relation may not pass the vertical line test, may not pass the horizontal line test. Okay, next we come to functions. Now functions are a very specific type of relation. A relation where one-to-many mapping is not allowed. You cannot have an element here in set A which is mapping to multiple elements in set B. This is not allowed in a function. Okay, so we'll erase it. Okay. What is allowed is only that maybe multiple elements of set A can map to the same element in set B. That's okay. So this is a general drawing, a general sketch of the of any function. I've shown these very points here: A comma E, B comma E, C comma E, because A, B, and C are all mapping to E. So that's like that. and d comma f is also shown. So although a function passes a vertical line test because the one-to-many mapping is not allowed, but it may or may not pass the horizontal line test. Like you can see here, you draw a horizontal line, it goes through 3 points, so it's not passing the horizontal line test. So based on this, there are two kinds of functions, many-to-one function and the one-to-one function. The many-to-one function will not pass the horizontal line test, but the one-to-one function will pass the horizontal line test. That is, it will have only one element mapped to one element here. Okay. It cannot, in a one-to-one function, it cannot happen that there are two elements here, they're going and connecting to the same element. Also, it cannot happen that there is one element here and it's getting connected to two elements there. Only one to one. Okay. In a many-to-one function, what is allowed is that there can be multiple elements, E, G, H, for example, here, and they're getting mapped to the same element, F in B. Okay, so we could draw their curves like this. You have E comma F, E and F, G, F and HF. So G and H also mapping to this. B is going to A, so B is going to some other point A. Okay, so the graph could look like this. Okay. Whereas a one-to-one function, E is mapping to F, G is mapping to G, G is mapping to H. So a one-to-one function is like this. Okay, now it is going to pass the horizontal line test. It is also going to pass the vertical line test. Any vertical line hits only at one point. Any horizontal line hits only at one point on the function. Of course, both of the functions, whether it's many-to-one or one-to-one, both of them pass the vertical line test because it's a function. A relation, remember, may not pass the vertical line test. So in summary, we have this in summary, a relation being shown here where one element is being mapped to multiple elements in set B. Also, multiple elements from A are coming and mapping to the same element H in B. Both possible. For a many-to-one function, multiple elements in set A going and mapping to the same element in B. That's possible. For a one-to-one function, one element maps to only one element. And one element here gets mapped to by only one element from A. And here's a summary about the vertical line and horizontal line test. The relation may not pass the vertical line and horizontal line tests. A many-to-one function will not pass the horizontal line test, and a one-to-one function passes both of the tests. Thank you.